Welcome to the Real Film Geeks. I'm Addison Lee.
And I'm Zebedee.
All right, so we're going to do something a little different than we usually do. We're not going to talk about news, and we're not really going to do a review. But there is something I've been wanting to talk about for the longest time, and that is representation in media, essentially. So, just because of like the big positive outlook on the Black Panther trailer that we got 2 weeks ago or so, and most of the cast is black.
Like 90%.
Yeah, like 90% of the cast. And the also really cool thing is that, as far as we can tell, there are there are gonna be no damsels in distress, essentially.
Right.
Because I can't remember the name. I keep telling myself I'm gonna remember what their tribe is called, but essentially the warriors in Wakanda are all women, and so they're all strong. And so there's no. So again, Black Panther has a better chance of being the damsel in distress than anyone. So yeah, again, we'll see. But so we want to talk about like just looking at where the representation for most people, non-white people, are in media. And if you go back in the day to a lot of cartoons, there were what's the right word? Racist cartoons, essentially. Even though we all remember that. I believe it was like Looney Tunes, where you saw a bunch of black people, or whatever their interpretation of black people, which were, these kind of sloth-like, monkey-like people, and they didn't want to do anything until a hot woman walked by, and then they all started acting crazy, and, that...
Yeah, it was like giant, round, cherry red lips.
Yeah.
Big butts for no reason, like crazy hair. Like, it was insane. I can remember clearly one of my favorite cartoons from when I was little was a Bugs Bunny cartoon. It was right before they implemented Elmer Fudd.
Yeah.
But like the episode that made it so that they were like, oh, we should do Elmer Fudd. The one that spawned that was this black guy. You can't tell his age. He might be somewhere between like 15 and 20 or even 30, but like it's cartoons, so like they make him look weird and lanky and like stupid. And he's wandering in the woods, dragging his rifle behind him, going, "I'm gonna catch me a rabbit."
I remember that one.
And Bugs Bunny just like plays him like the fool, like usual, but it is so aggressively racist.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like that is what spawned Elmer Fudd.
Yeah.
They ended up going, hey, they like this hunter that is an idiot that they can make fun of, but they ended up going with Elmer Fudd instead. And this is kind of hilarious. This is a side note. Elmer Fudd started as a bird watcher. He actually wasn't out there trying to kill Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny literally drove a bird watcher to
being
become
a
a hunter. But anyway, and so there's that, and what I will give, I think WB owns Looney Tunes, of course, right? Yeah. What I will give WB, Warner Bros, is they never censored or removed any of those old cartoons, and instead any collection which houses them, they will personally and purposefully note before you watch them, this film collection has been entirely unaltered in order to preserve the past, as racist as it may be. We don't consign to or justify any of what is being shown. We need to preserve it for historical accuracy, and so that something like this never happens again.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, which I really respect them for that.
And the same thing happened with Disney, too, because I remember there was that Donald Duck cartoon where he worked as, like, a Nazi missile maker. And the good thing is, like, he was an imbecile, so I guess, like, he kept messing up.
He kept messing up their
So I don't know. I don't know
shells.
if that. Yeah, I don't know if that made it better or not, but yeah. So there are a lot of these cartoons had a lot of racial messages in there, and especially, like you said, especially with the WB ones, because of just how they perceived black people, and going on. See, there was a book called "Looking for a Face Like Mine," and I've been trying to find it, but you can only find it through like third party buyers or something. And essentially, the book is about what kids look for in like characters that they attach to, and it all depends on what what you grew up with. If you grew up in around mostly black people, you kind of look for other black faces to kind of connect to. Same with white, same with Asian, same with Hispanic. So it was kind of like if a kid walks into a comic book store, they look for the cover that has something that that looks like them, essentially.
Sure.
Now, for me and Zeb, we grew up in a very multicultural home, town, everything. His dad, my uncle, is white. Our grandmother is white. Most of our other aunts and uncles are white. So we kind of grew up, with
both. Yeah, we both have like definitely black and white culture and heritage. It's all there.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like, for us, we were able to attach to, we could see ourselves in
just about anything.
Yeah. Because that's what we knew.
Right.
And, it wasn't until, a little later that I kind of realized, like, oh, wait, I don't look like Batman. I don't look like Superman. I don't look like Wonder Woman. I don't, I'm a man. So it wasn't really until 2000 where I found, or not even 2000, maybe a little early. No, actually, it was 2000 because that's when Static Shock came out.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about Static Shock.
And that was like the first time, because I kind of almost accepted my role in superheroes where it's just like,
sidekick,
I'm not even a sidekick. It's like, I'm not a superhero. I'm just the guy who's going to watch. But then when Static Shock came out, it was just like, no, you don't have to be the sidekick. Right. Or you don't have to be a bystander. You don't have to be the sidekick. You can be the lead.
The superhero.
Like that was, so that's why I feel like Static Shock is probably one of the most important shows, was because it was it was the first primetime TV show with a black lead in animation and the fact that it ran for 4 seasons, that's the longest show.
I was about to say, it ran so long. Yeah. I was so surprised.
2000 to 2004.
Looking back, at the time I was just a kid, so I just knew I loved Static Shock. I didn't realize that it was basically just like fighting an uphill battle to maintain time on air. And also it attacked cultural and societal norms so heavily. Like, there was gang warfare, something that probably a lot of people didn't want in TV shows.
That was an
overarching storyline.
Yeah, like
it wasn't just a single episode.
That's who the Bang Babies were. They were gangbangers.
They were gangbangers. And then there was drugs. There was racism. There was an entire episode about how the main character's best friend, who's a white kid, had a racist father.
Oh, that episode still gives me... I watch that episode sometimes, and it gives me chills just watching it.
Right? There was an episode, multiple episodes, where his family goes back to Africa to visit their friend, their old family, and he meets the head, like the big Kenyan superhero,
the Spider.
Yeah, Anansi. Because it's Anansi, because he's a trickster.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa. They introduced another black superhero, and it's not just some like superhero that's already there. They made a new superhero to add to the DC mythos.
Yeah.
And say, hey, here's Anansi.
Which I'm kind of surprised, because side note, in the New 52 they or even before, they created Batwing, which was David Zimbabwe, I think, and he was an African superhero part of the Batman Incorporated. And then in that storyline, they pretty much went into the Kingdom, which was like the Justice League of Africa. And I'm really surprised they didn't bring him in there. Like, dude, that'd have been really cool.
It would have been so cool, because he was really neat.
Yeah.
And the show also covered really heavy stuff too. Like, one of my favorite episodes is Virgil, the main character, gets transported back in time because they live in was it Detroit?
No, it was called Dakota.
Dakota, yeah, they called
which
it
was
Dakota.
it was pretty much a Detroit-like area.
It was a Detroit analog, and there was a fire, like this huge fire that covered the entire city at one point when he was really little.
Actually, I think it was like gang. It was a gang riot. Like it was gang riots, and then there was a huge fire.
Yeah, like it covered like half the city. Yeah. And his mother died in that fire because she was a firefighter, and he gets teleported back in time, saves her, and tells her, just stay put, please. And then after he leaves, like revealing that he's her son, she still goes in there, tries to save people, and dies anyway.
Because
that's just what she does. It's like, you can't stop me from being a hero, just the same way I can't stop you, my future son, from being a hero.
Yeah.
And he comes back in time, comes back to the future, his present, looks for her, and she's still dead anyway. And he realizes she wouldn't stop herself from trying to save people.
Yeah.
And oh man, so this is a bit of a tangent. We're gonna get back to the main topic, but like that's why like
no, this is very important.
I mean, it's very important, as in this show actually did more it wasn't just a kids like, here we go, it's another, fighting the bad guy episode. Like, this show really went into not just heavy but just important topics, and tried its best to be a salient message driven television show, not just a superhero fights the bad guy show. And it did that. It was fantastic for that.
Yeah.
And it just strikes me because that show also had to just fight so much in order to be what it is in general, because it was a black superhero.
Yeah.
So for the writers just doubled down. They're like, we're not just going to make a black superhero show and just fight the bad guy. We're going to like make sure that people get good messages through this.
Yeah.
And learn that. And one of the things about that is, I'm sure it was to help people that feel like they didn't have representation. People that are like dealing with gangs, or dealing with drug violence, or dealing with the loss of a loved one, or dealing with racism, all of that stuff. There was an episode for all of it, in order to make you go, someone out there has either done the same thing, felt the same thing, or is listening to what I have to say.
Yeah. And the also thing I really liked about the show was the fact that his parents, like, it was showing that anyone, like, this was just a black family, or it was not even a black family, it was just a family.
Yeah.
Like, the dad ran a rec center, the mom was a firefighter or EMT. Like, it was one of the two. Yeah, it was just the fact that this was just a family. It wasn't like, well, we had to make it more black, so maybe it was this or that. It was like, no, we just made the people.
That was one of the funny things, was when they go to visit their African relatives, they're all wearing, the African garb, and Virgil's just like, why are they wearing that?
Yeah.
What's going on? Because he's an American. Whether or not he's of African descent, African Americans are just Americans at this point, for the most part. We've like disconnected so much from Africa in most cases, that anyone that we would call African American is probably just black, just a black American.
Which is what I essentially identify
as. Because we're not that attached to our African roots, and in some cases black people can't connect to their black roots because they don't know who they're related to. They don't know what part of Africa they came from.
Yeah.
And to say, oh, well, they're just all African tribes. You're just an African. Get the drum and get that smiley drum face going, and then you're connecting to your roots. It's like, that is so racist and such a lie. So, like that episode too was just kind of like, it made me realize that, like, I never thought of that at that point, because I'm a quarter black, and I was just like, I've never really thought about where my connection to Africa is, but at the same time, I'd never thought about my white connections that much either, so it doesn't matter to me. I'm just an American.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, Static Shock, we could keep going for a while on that one. Definitely. It's a great centerpiece to racial representation in media, especially for young kids growing up watching cartoons at the time, being able to see a superhero on the level of Spider-Man, I think, because he's just this kid that gets the power and he becomes a superhero. It's not some adult that has it.
Yeah, I would definitely say that Static Shock is the equivalent, like the DC equivalent to Spider-Man.
Yeah, definitely.
I know some people want to say it's Nightwing. No, it's because
he wasn't gifted the power by some adult. It was,
and he was never a psychic. He had to figure out by himself,
on his own. Yeah, definitely.
Dealing with his own rogues gallery. And the cool thing about the fact that Static Shock survived without any other connection to the DC universe.
Yeah,
because they didn't
Until they did the future stuff when he saves himself in the future,
and he meets
the Justice League of the future. Yeah.
Justice League of the future, and then when they also brought the Justice League into the Static Shock show, so it survived. I think, God, I want to say they didn't introduce that until maybe the third. Or
that was
season.
That was 2 or 3 years in. Like that's when they were like they cemented it as like this is a successful DC animated TV show. We can go with this
because I know. Justice League came out. I know it came out in 2000. I think it might have been 2001 when Justice League started, and then went on, and then they crossed over. Because if you guys don't know, Static Shock was in the Bruce Timm
the animated universe, the best animated universe.
It really is. And if you don't know,
one thing I didn't even realize. Okay, this is totally an aside, but around that same time, and maybe a year later or 2 years later, it was around the time of Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
There was a really short show. I don't even think it lasted a season, called Zeta, and it was about a robot that had gained artificial intelligence that tried to escape from its creators.
Yeah.
And there was this girl that was from the undercity of this Neo city that they were living in that tried to help him. Mm-hmm. Turns out the entire time it was Neo Gotham, and Batman Beyond actually pops up in one of the episodes.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Wait, when did Batman Beyond come out? I want to say that was 99, right? Was that the
I think it was somewhere around like the turn of the century, I want to say.
Cuz I don't know, 99.
Mhm.
It was
only 3 years. Not even. Yeah, 99 to 2001.
Are you kidding me? I feel like there was just so much more.
It's just a prevalent TV show. That's the thing is honestly, for me, I only accept Batman the animated series seasons 1 through 3 as canon, because those are the true episodes for me. The other ones after that are pretty decent, but they changed the animation style and did all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah,
and it was called The Adventures of Batman and Robin. I wasn't super.
No, it was the New Adventures of Batman.
The New Adventures of Batman.
Because The Adventures of Batman and Robin
were part of the original animated series.
Yeah, it was
that's true.
I always remember you'd watch the regular series or the regular episodes, and then it would just cut to this weird montage of Batman and Robin doing something.
Yeah, and you're like, what the heck?
What is this? But anyways, so back to representation.
Yeah. So okay, going from Static Shock to the next one.
Well, I just want to mention real quick, Jon Stewart.
I was about to say yes.
Okay.
Jon Stewart is the first Green Lantern that we really see in the Bruce Timm animated series.
Yeah.
So when we do Justice League stuff, we don't have Hal Jordan or Kyle Rayner or Guy Gardner as the Green Lantern. We jump straight to Jon Stewart, the first Black Green Lantern. And honestly, in my opinion, he's, besides maybe Kyle Rayner, he's the best Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't already know, Green Lantern uses willpower essentially, but it requires your ability, your imagination, and your technical prowess in order to make constructs of light that fight for you.
Yeah.
So when we watch frickin' Hal Jordan, he keeps making a plane because he was always a pilot.
Knows planes.
And then sometimes a boxing glove or a chair or a baseball bat, and you're sitting there what?
Which I want to say, one of my favorite lines from DC versus Mortal Kombat is Lex Luthor when he becomes he becomes more evil, and he's yelling at Hal Jordan you have the ring that controls the greatest power in the universe, and what do? You make a boxing glove and a chair. And it's so spiteful.
And then exactly. And then Guy Gardner wasn't much better because he was a hockey player.
Yeah.
And then but then we get Kyle Rayner and Jon Stewart, and Kyle Rayner is a comic book artist. And so he's got a great imagination, so he makes dragons and all this kind of stuff. But he's really cool about that. But I love Jon Stewart because he was in the military.
Yeah.
And so at one of my favorite scenes ever is he's making this giant gun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like a pistol gun, it's like a cannon. And someone's walking up to him asking him, why don't you just make the idea of the gun and have it shoot the thing? And he's like, because it doesn't work like that. I'm making every single piece of this giant gun and fitting it into it. And so he's sitting there essentially looking at these blueprints, and his ring is slowly making every tiny little item that goes on this gun to make it work perfectly. and by doing so, it amplifies his ability to not just make that gun shoot the way it should, but because it's also powered by the Green Lantern power, it's like 10 times as powerful.
Yeah.
Than if he had just made an image of it and shot it.
Yeah.
Because he makes every single piece, it works that much better.
Yeah.
And that's why I love John Stewart's Green Lantern, is because he's like the mechanical prowess and the know-how to make something like that. He is like a strategist. He's not just, I'm gonna make this chair and beat you over the head with it. Woo!
And the other cool thing about it was, like, I remember there was an episode when they were really establishing the team, and he was just like, we have to train as a team. We can't just go in there balls to the wall and think it's going to work out because we're the strongest people in the universe. So I remember there's actually a whole episode where he forces all the members of the Justice League into the desert to work on like teamwork strategy, and it's like Batman wasn't. Well, I think Batman wasn't even there because you can't.
There was a point when Batman was technically part of the Justice League because he was the one that assembled them, but he just didn't do anything with the Justice League.
No, he was always just like, yeah, you guys do that. Call me if the world's ending. Then I might show up.
Yeah.
But even like Superman's like, I don't want to do this. I'm super powerful. And it's like, no, if you're gonna be part of a team, we have to do this. And I think because this was all after this is all pre-crisis, and if you don't know, also like something happened to Hal Jordan. I think it was after Parallax controlled him. Like he stopped being a Green Lantern for a while.
Because he died.
Oh, he did die, didn't he?
Yeah,
I almost forgot. And then the same thing with Barry Allen. Some people also don't know this. Barry Allen has been dead for 20 years.
Yeah, Barry Allen ran himself into oblivion. He literally ran so fast he disappeared from existence.
He didn't come back until like 2005, I think.
In the Final Crisis?
Yeah.
God, I loved that. I love that so much.
Like, this is the funny thing. Because my Flash is Wally West. Because
that's the one that was there. Because for 20 years, Barry Allen didn't exist.
Like that's the kind of the cool thing about comics back in the day. Where like when a character was dead, you didn't see that character ever again. Like nowadays, a character has to come back like
immediately.
Yeah,
every single time.
But like Hal Jordan was dead. Barry was dead. Like so that's where Hal Jordan, not Hal Jordan. That's where like John Stewart and Wally West came from, is because these main guys were gone. So these were the replacements, and the replacements became our heroes.
Yeah, it's like
they weren't replacements. That's who it was.
It's like in that instance, like one of the things that happened like during the death of Batman after Final Crisis.
Oh yeah,
was freaking Nightwing became Batman for a little while there,
and he was actually Batman for a while.
Yeah, we all thought, oh snap, we actually are doing this, and then they were like, hey guys, guess what? Return of Bruce Wayne. It's like, oh come on, man.
I think it was probably just because the sales were just not the same.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I could go on a long tangent about this, but I'll just make it short. With DC and Marvel, I think that they're just, while they're cool and they have a lot of money behind all the things, they can keep making stories. I think they're stagnant because they will never ever be able to move forward in the timeline. Yeah. Because every single time, all the superheroes are like 35, and they'll always be 35. Batman's been 35 for 20, 30, 50 years now, and I know there was that thing where in this new, not in the new 52, whatever they're doing right now, they reversed the timeline like 10 years or something like that to make all the heroes younger.
That was new 52.
Yeah, that was new 52. But like, all they're doing is just prolonging the characters, and that's not in the long run. It's not great because we're not going to see any progression essentially. Yeah. But you know what? That's something for another day. Anyway, so back to representation. So there's John Stewart. Fantastic. I want to talk a little bit about different media than just comics and comic movies, though. So still on the animated section of this topic, here's an interesting one. Anime.
Oh, God, yeah.
So the fun thing about anime is that it's not American produced.
Nope.
At least not a lot of it is, because there actually is some American produced anime that is anime, because anime is a separate media than just a cartoon. It has a very specific style and all that fun stuff. But just Japanese, some Chinese, and some Korean developers are just so much better at creating it than Americans are, that we just don't dabble in it that much. Anyway, so one of the things about that, though, is because it's Asian made, is sometimes they'll produce characters that are what they think a person looks like.
Yeah.
Or acts like. And this is hilarious because it's a sword that goes two ways for both white people and black people. Yeah. Though definitely black people in anime have the short end of that stick.
Yeah.
Because similarly how I was mentioning the character in the Looney Tunes show that had like the lanky arms and the big cherry red lips that looked like you took Twizzlers and just like wrapped them around your lips and that those were your lips.
Yeah.
Almost like 100%, pretty damn near close to 100% of black people in anime up until maybe this last year or two were bald.
Yep.
Because they don't know how to draw black people hair, evidently.
Which is so easy.
It's
literally just take their bald head and just draw hair, because most of us have our hair short.
Yeah, and usually big noses and these huge goddamn red or pink lips that look like you took an oval and just drew a line in the middle of it to represent their mouth, and that's their lips. And these guys would always be... It was hilarious because in anime, of course, because it's Asian, they would speak Japanese.
Hey, yo!
But any American or black person would speak English. But, like, the black dudes would be like, oh, what's up, man? What you want to fuck me? Go, come on, man. Yeah. And, like, it's just... You just sit there and go, holy crap, is this racist?
And just how they do Americans, like if you remember Bandit Keith from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, yeah.
He was decked out in like...
Yeah, but like Americans are just like hyper-American with like the American flag on every piece of clothing. They've got black sunglasses, or they're a cowboy.
Yeah, and they're always like very, very egotistical. They're very selfish. They're pretty much just assholes no matter what.
Unless you're Joey, then you're just a nice kid with a Brooklyn accent doing all kinds of weird, stupid things.
Was that what they were going for?
You. Hey, what's up, you?
Wait, was the Brooklyn accent what they were going for?
Yeah.
Oh my God, they missed. They missed so really bad.
Oh God.
But so yeah, and that, that's just how they always do it. And I get very picky on anime on how they design black characters. That's why I like Naruto a lot, because when they introduced the Cloud Village, a lot of their characters, along with their Raikage, are black.
Yeah.
And none of them have the big... Even though they... Because, look, I'm not going to lie, black people do have large lips. Not like those big pink ones.
Well, one of the things is we've got darker skin pigment, and so our lips stand out more. So people think we have larger lips when we really don't, honestly.
And it's the way they design them. It's like, you can see their lips, but it's not like... their lips are taking up half their face like they do in these other cartoons. And, I always try to go... And I try to see if they, avoid stereotypes. Now, even though in Naruto there's a character called Killer Bee who wants to be a rapper, the fact that he wants to be a rapper kind of adds to the charm of his character, because everyone around him thinks he's horrible. Even other black characters. Like, it's not like all the other black characters are, dancing to when he's rapping. They're all just like, dude, stop rapping, you suck. And he's also a really powerful character. So so that's how I kind of judge a lot of anime, especially with Full Metal Alchemist. Even though there was one black character with those lips, but they still do a really good job of representation. Because
the thing is, I just looked that up because I was like, I know Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood did a really good job of representation, but even that black guy, he doesn't have these this is the one you're thinking of, right? That guy?
No, keep talking, but I'll pull it up.
Yeah, I'm looking up like the characters because I remember that they did that in Full Metal Alchemist. But there was a couple black guys. One of them, which the one that I remembered immediately and looked for, looks like a normal person more or less. He just is darker skin toned.
Yeah.
But one of the things about Full Metal Alchemist that I thought was really great representation wise wasn't just for black people, but just one of the nations
Ishval.
is called Ishval is essentially the Middle East.
Yeah.
And the people there just look like people that have brown skin, and their hair is usually like gray or something like that.
And they did a really good job not just making a white character and painting them brown. They added features to them that made them distinct from everyone else.
Yeah, and the thing is, the main characters are from what's essentially Germany.
Yeah.
And so everyone there looks more or less European, and then the people that come from the Asian country look Asian, and the people that are from the Ishval, the Middle Eastern country look Middle Eastern. And so this anime was really good, where a lot of anime aren't, at letting you know where someone is actually from. Whereas in a lot of anime that you'll see, the main character will have like pink hair and look like a white person, even though they're in the middle of Japan, and they'll be purely Japanese. And so you're like, but that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I give Fullmetal Alchemist some points there for sticking to its guns, essentially. But as Addison says, he thinks that there's one person looked
like it's only
what we were talking about.
It's only one, and it's enough of a pass. It's not a pass, but you're just like, even though that character does not look right, everything else was done very, very well. And and same thing with Soul Eater. I don't know if you ever watched Soul Eater.
Not a whole lot.
But there was a character named Killick, and he was another dark skinned character who didn't have giant lips, and I was like, and that's why I like that show so much. Not just because they have a black character, but they it's when you give a character like respect,
right,
and like actually giving him a character arc, because it was Dwayne McDuffie. There he is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's like everything about him is fine except for his lips.
Yeah.
So, if they just hadn't done his lips like that, he would have been fine.
Sorry, I know it's it's a visual. We're talking about something visual, even though this is just an audio podcast. But yeah. Anyways, I think it was Dwayne McDuffie, and I want to find the quote, but essentially he said it's almost unfair the amount of pressure that falls onto a character. By the way, Dwayne McDuffie is one of the founders of Milestone Comics, which is where Static Shock came from. Anyways, so one of the things he said was it's almost unfair for black characters and female characters, because when they are written and they're sold, they have to represent everyone. If there's a black character, they have to represent all black people. When there's a woman character, she has to represent all women. And he says that adds a lot of pressure to these writers of writing these characters, and that's why some people just don't do it. Because it's like, at least at the time, is because if we're making a black character, well, this character has to represent every black person. It's like,
right.
No,
they have to be so hyper black that they're
this character can just be a character. Like, even though, as much as I love Luke Cage, his original
oh man,
and as fun as his comics were,
he was.
Yeah. He was, based off of the blaxploitation films that were coming out around the day.
He was the
Shaft,
Soul Brother man.
Yeah, Shaft, Soul Brother, Superfly. Sorry, and stuff like that. And same with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman even though Wonder Woman had prevailed over the years, she represented all women, and that kind of pressure hurts characters. And that's why I'm kind of glad that nowadays we're getting to a point where these characters can just be written. Like, Static Shock was written as just a character. He wasn't representing all black youths, even though a lot of us could connect to him.
Right.
He was just a character, and that's why I think now there's such a hunger for more of his work, and that's why they're rebranding Milestone and bringing it back, because people want more Static Shock. So. And let's move on to let's get into the films where in just regular TV shows, most black characters, and not even just black characters, a lot of other non-white characters in movies and TV shows fall into these weird stereotypes where if there's a black person in a show, they're an athlete or a drug dealer or a criminal. Or they're that cop that was basically brought onto the force because they need representation. Yep. And they know it or something like that. Yeah. And that's also kind of sucks because when you realize, like, let's look at Friends. You could replace the cast with almost any other ethnic group and the show would be the same because there's nothing special about Friends. It's just the stories. So really,
they're just all white people because they were just like, just make them all white people.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, guess what? Let's live in this magical New York where we see one black person or one Asian person every 10 episodes. Like,
right.
So again, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if they do a show about black people, it has to be a black show. Like, it has to deal with all these different issues. When essentially, like, not like, if you do a black show, it doesn't have to be good times. You know, essentially, it's not. They don't have to live in the ghetto. Some black people actually do live in nice neighborhoods. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would love to see if, like, do Friends, but just replace everyone with characters of different ethnicities, and it would essentially be the same show as long as the actors and actresses brought the same charm that the original Friends cast did. The show should be the same, but I feel like people are so afraid of, like, well, hold on, most of our viewers are white, they can't connect to a black show. It's like, so wait, we have to connect to a white show because we fit like maybe a 15% of who's watching a show.
Sure. Well, here's the thing, though. So you know the show Modern Family?
Of course.
There have been, I think, one or two. They're not exactly spin-offs. They're like clones, and one of them is called like Fresh Off the Boat or something like that.
Oh, Fresh Off the Boat and Blackish.
And then Blackish, and they're literally like the exact same shows, only the other two, Fresh Off the Boat and Blackish, are about. Fresh Off the Boat is an Asian family, and they're an Asian American family.
Yes.
And then Blackish is, Black American. And while Blackish definitely has had multiple episodes that talk about race and about how it feels to be having someone be racist against you, those seem like just straight clones. And it's to appeal to those audiences, of course, but I almost wish that, like, why couldn't we have more shows that are just like pure diverse, like pure, even across the board representation, not just an extreme of this, an extreme of that. But at the same time, I can't really complain because it started because of Modern Family, which the only real like diversity they have in there is the hot Chicana mother,
and then Sofia Vergara.
Yeah, and then that's it.
And her son.
And then and so it's just like a pure white family essentially, and someone, and like really, while she is, Hispanic, like, does that, like, that there's nothing racial about that anymore, really.
Yeah.
Especially since she's hyper attractive, and so people like just like, fuzz over the fact that she's, not pure American or something like that. But then we've got these other shows, and so they come out and they go, can we do racial diversity? Can we like make it a mix? And then they go, you know what? No, because that other show went full on, extremely white. Yeah. So we have to do full on extremely black in order to maintain a balance here, essentially.
But I would give those shows, even though like, I kind of agree they are kind of clones, and I think the Goldbergs kind of fall into the same category, but following a Jewish family. I feel like they have also became their own, like, they became their own thing, even though they were a clone. They're like, hey, you know what, I'm going to dye my hair, put in contacts, and just start my own life. Essentially, that's what they did. And Blackish has become a very... Like, it's funny, like, I almost hear more about what's going on in Blackish, because I don't watch
any of the other ones. Yeah,
no. I don't watch. Streaming has really just ruined my, like, watching TV live.
I hate watching the television.
Yeah,
like, if it's not something that I can, like, easily access with my computer, I don't want to watch it because I don't want to. Commercials. I don't want to pay extra for cable.
Yeah.
I could go on for hours about how computer streaming and stuff like that is actually how we should be doing things. But that's not what this podcast is about.
Right. So, like, like Fresh Off the Boat and Blackish, and same thing with Goldbergs, they've just become their own entity now. Like, from being a clone to just being self-aware, and Blackish is going in. It's on its third or fourth season, and it has a strong following. Same with Fresh Off the Boat. So I'm glad these shows are working because if you look back in the day, there's only a few black shows that could be on at a time, where it would start out with Good Times, and then the Jeffersons, and then Sanford and Son was somewhere in the middle because there's always those middle shows, and then after that it went to the Cosbys, which was like one of the first shows that showed like, hey, guess what? There are these two black parents. One's a doctor and one's a lawyer. Two with like the highest professions in our society. And kind of like their living situations. They have a really nice house in New York, a big house in New York. And then of course that leading on to
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Of course, Family Matters was
But Family Matters was before that.
Yeah, but it's in the middle.
Yeah.
But
oh man.
But Family it was just Matters.
And then it became Urkel.
Yeah, and then so it just kind of kept showing the progression of like, hey, there's a black family in Bel-Air, which was not a thing in the 90s.
And love me some Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, man.
I will say that show was probably one of the it gave me so many different ideas of what being black was, because as a kid I did not know what that was, and I thought being black was a certain thing, and I feel like that's how most young black kids feel, is they don't know what being black is. And that's what I used to wear. I used to sag my pants and wear the baggy coat and the cap and everything. But then a particular episode of Fresh Prince that came out that I think almost kind of set me straight was the episode where Will and Carlton were were trying to get into that fraternity.
Yeah.
And they said you weren't black enough, and then Carlton was just like, I don't act black. I am black. Like I have the same struggle as you do. Yeah, my family's rich, but like
that didn't stop me from getting pulled over by the cops.
Yeah,
and like
being arrested and being shot. Like so I feel like that was probably one of the most important episodes, because it showed kids like, hey, like, because again, me and Zeb, we're nerds, and growing up in the 90s, in the early 2000s, being a nerd was not quote unquote black.
Nope,
it wasn't. So it was very, of course, which is one of the comments I hate the most. It's always like, well, you're not really black, and it's like,
screw that.
Like, what does that mean? Because I
talk like a white person. I talk like a person. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Like, good God.
Yeah, I always hated that. I hate that so much. But yeah, it was an eye opener of saying like, you don't have to act black, because there's no such thing as acting black. You just are black, and what you do, like, that's just being black. So I feel like that was a very important show and a very important episode to show kids that there's no such thing as being black. If you are black, you are black.
That's just how you identify.
But that also means you also have a target on your back. Oh, yeah. And mean that when you do something wrong, people will say, "Oh, well, that's how black people are." Even though you do something good, that's just saying, "Oh, that's an exception." Yeah, they'll say, "Oh, that's just that one black guy." Yeah. But then when you screw up, boom, you represent everyone. So that's why I feel like that show was also very important.
Well, one of the things also I got from the show was just how, even while they, of course, there were huge overtones of just like, this is, a black family.
Yeah.
They were also just like a family, and a lot of the things that Will does in the show is just normal kid stuff too.
Yeah.
Like it's to show that just because someone's not the same race as you, so if like I'm a white guy watching this show, you'll see like, oh, they just do normal stuff that everyone else does, even though they're a different race than me.
Yep.
How about that? It's almost like we're all humans. And then race is a social construct created to divide us or something like that.
Yep.
Oh man. And so that's what I really loved about that show, because like, there were plenty of episodes that were heavy, plenty of episodes that were just straight comedy, and plenty of episodes that just go like, this is just how life is, guys.
Yeah.
Like it's we're all in this together.
Yeah. So another thing I want to go into is just superheroes, not like what we did with the Static Shock argument, but let's go into backwards from where we are with Black Panther now, back to, let's see what came first. I guess Steel, or maybe even yes, I think Steel was the first. So
well, no, I mean that would probably be Luke Cage. Luke Cage was in the 70s or 80s.
no, no, oh no, I meant in film.
Oh, in
like
film.
Yeah, film wise.
Ooh, yeah, that would be Steel. I think might have been one of the first.
Because
unless you take blaxploitation films as superhero films.
Yeah, I mean, they did almost write them as superhero films, but also some people may not even remember Meteor Man, which that's me.
Meteor Man.
Oh man.
Meteor. Meteor. Meteor.
It will correct itself.
No, it's not. Put an EO. Meteor. Meteor Man. There you go. My cousin, folks, the guy that can spell.
Yes, and I'm a writer, so shut up. Anyways, so this actually, I think this came before.
29% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Woo!
So Meteor Man, of course, being just based off of whoever wrote it, it's not it's not from comics. It's just a guy, a superhero show, and of course, it was a comedy. It was not taken seriously, same as Blank Man. Those were two superhero movies with black leads, but they weren't taken seriously, and they were not done seriously.
Right.
Same thing with Steel with Shaq, and I think that was 97. Yes, no, maybe so.
Yep, 97.
Yep, I was right. And that movie is a hot piece of garbage. Like, I watched, the funny thing is, it's on YouTube, and I don't even think Warner Brothers wants to be like, hey, copyright, you can't sell that. They're just like, whatever, someone's watching it, I guess.
Yep.
And that was the black superhero. It was Steel. And the cool thing, or not the cool thing, but the thing about Steel was that he was supposed to be, like, he became a superhero because of Superman, because he was inspired by Superman, because he was like he was a weapons builder for Lex Luthor, and he kind of
being disillusioned.
Yeah.
And one of the things was in the Rise of the Supermen, which was directly after the death of Superman, when basically there was this void in Metropolis where a couple clones of Superman and then Steel were like, we need to be Superman.
Yeah.
And so, like, he was this dude randomly with a super suit comes up and it's like, I'm gonna be Superman. So he takes his Steel suit, and it's not just Steel. He just calls himself Steel because
he was essentially the DC version of Iron Man. Like, he was a weapons developer. Right. Just quit that and then built a suit of armor.
And I love that his name is John Henry Irons because it's John Henry,
If you don't know, that's the folk hero
who beat the machine.
Yeah.
And so he rises up the only like human to go like, I will
be Superman
when there's Superboy, who's a Superman clone, and then there was the robot Superman that no one knew was a robot at the time, and then there was also that one Superman that like had the glasses and shot beams out of his hands, but we don't talk about
there
that
were
one.
Like, when they were not kidding when it was like the Rise of Superman, there were a lot. They
came out of the woodwork.
Like, there was a lot. There was like what the two red and blue Superman, like lightning. And...
No. That wasn't during the Rise of the Superman. That was literally Superman when he had two different aspects. He got hit with like gamma rays or some weird. Was it maybe red kryptonite? I think it was red kryptonite, because red kryptonite has a bunch of just like random effects it might have on him. And one of the effects it had was, for right now, you're gonna be blue electric Superman, and he like lost the ability to fly, but instead he was like super fast and could travel through electricity. And then he could switch to the red Superman, which is like some other version of like plasma bolts or something like that. But it was literally his outfit changed, and it was like he lost the cape and he had just like a full body suit, including like a helmet kind of thing, and he had like electricity flowing at him all the time. It was kind of neat looking, but it was also really stupid because it's just like, why did you give Superman a different power set?
And it's also the fact that you brought up red kryptonite. There are so many different kinds of kryptonite.
I love it. It's hilarious. It's
like,
stupid, but it's hilarious.
Do you remember
there's pink kryptonite
that makes Superman gay? It's like
there's white kryptonite.
It's like what?
Blue kryptonite, yellow kryptonite.
And remember,
black kryptonite.
Kryptonite is just fragments from Krypton.
Irradiated fragments from Krypton.
Yes,
but they got hit by cosmic rays, Addison. Cosmic rays.
One that makes you gay? Like
one that makes you gay.
What cosmic ray is that from?
This is Illuminati, guys. The reason that they're gay and like homosexual people on the planet Earth is because we've got irradiated chunks of Earth that are just pink Earth. We've got that Illuminati
Stuff, man. All right, so
just for the record, no, I do not believe that pink Earth is what causes people to be homosexual. Let's get that out of the way immediately. It was a joke, nothing more.
There's no such thing as a joke anymore. So anyway, so moving on. At past those films, we get to 99 to the 2005. We have Blade.
Oh yeah.
Now Blade, it was the first black lead superhero that was taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, everything around him, he was the only black, along with because his mother's like the villain or whatever.
In the first one,
yeah,
his mother's one of the villains, not the villain. She was
Deacon Frost was the villain.
His mother was she gave birth to him. I think she was human when she gave birth to him, but like he thought that she had died on the table.
Yeah.
But the vampires actually got to her and turned her into a vampire, and then shoved her in this dark chasm, and then have him fight her at some point.
Wait. She got bit when she was pregnant with him, right? And that's why he was like half.
Yeah, that's why he was half and half. That's right. It wasn't that the vampires got to her on the table. It was that she got bit when she was pregnant with him, like about to give birth.
Yeah.
And so he became like half and half.
And that's why he's able to walk during.
That's why he's the day walker.
Yeah, he's able to go out during the day and not be burned, but he
still has the vampire thirst and vampire powers.
It's cool and weird. It's cool and weird.
But then there was the other one. In the first one there was another black person, and it was the girl.
Oh yeah, the love interest. Yeah.
Yeah, like the love interest.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's not a whole lot of. It's hilarious because I'm actually okay with it for the most part because it literally is just this black dude destroying utterly all these pasty white dudes.
Yeah. I will still say probably the scariest scene in the movie for me was the
nightclub when the dude goes to the nightclub. Yeah.
That is
okay. It's hilarious because the guy actually lives in the end. I'm pretty sure, but this dude gets taken by some vampires. He doesn't know they're vampires yet, and they're like, "We're gonna show you a good time." And he's like, "Oh, cool," because he thinks he's going to a rave.
Yeah.
He goes to this rave, and everything's great, and then he notices people have like really long teeth, and he's like, "Oh, kind of weirded out about that," because this is like, maybe it's a costume rave.
Very gothy.
And then at one point, the sprinkler system gets turned on, and it's just straight up blood, and everyone just starts like opening their mouths and letting the blood fall in their mouths because they're vampires
laughing
and happy, and they're like, "Oh my god, what the frick is this?" And then of course the vampires that brought him in are like, "Yeah, we're gonna eat you now,"
and it's like it is really just like I'm screwed because he's in the middle.
He's in the middle of
it's
like
not like
100 vampires.
He's not near a door. He's just like
in the middle of them.
I'm going to die.
Yeah. And then Blade comes out of nowhere and kills like everybody.
And he really does like. It's not just like. I think he like backs into Blade. Like he's like scrambling, and then Blade's just like standing there, and everyone's like, "It's him!" And then Blade's just like and starts just wailing on him. It's really it's scary and then fun when Blade shows up. And then the sequels happened.
Hey! The sequels weren't that bad, and think of it like this: the first movie was so successful that it actually spawned sequels.
I know.
Like it's one of the first. It is the first like black starred superhero movie that got sequels, and in fact, it's excuse me, sorry about that. It's one of the only superhero movies at the time that was able to spawn sequels.
Right.
All of the rest died in the water.
Yeah.
Except for Superman. I will stop there.
Superman and Batman.
And Batman were the only other two to do it. Superman, Batman, the two headliners of superheroes of all time, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then Blade.
Yeah.
Think about that.
That means a lot. And then of course we have. I mean, because that was around the time because everyone said like they call it the Golden Age, but it's more like the Silver Age. The Silver Age of superhero movies started with Blade and X-Men. Like it was in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Like those were the ones that spawned this
made
future line of superhero
Yeah, because
movies.
like I really do believe that after the 2005, essentially, we had the money and technology to actually make good superhero movies. Before that, it was really hard to make them successful.
Oh, definitely. Oh my God, yeah. Because I mean, superhero movies, Marvel and DC, were essentially killed by Batman and Robin. Like Batman and Robin just killed all of them. But I will say, I think Blade was the first good comic book movie, and then X-Men were the superhero movie. Was a superhero movie because
Blade wasn't a superhero.
No,
He's like a dark hero.
And it was also rated R, so it was really hard to appeal.
Have an audience for it.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't watch Blade until I was much older because my parents didn't want me to watch it because one, it had blood, it was very violent.
Yeah. I want to actually go on a quick tangent because I just remembered something.
Why not?
Why not? So I think it's the first Batman movie, the Michael Keaton one. Harvey Dent is Brown.
Yes.
And he's played by Billy D. Williams, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
And that I didn't watch the first Batman film until I was maybe early 2000s because I watched Batman the animated series when I was a kid, and then my dad got us a copy of that when we were later because of course it came out before I was born.
Right.
So I saw that and was just like, whoa, he's brown. And then I saw the other.
Wait, is that Lando?
Yeah,
why is Lando in Gotham?
No, that's the thing that happens every single time I see Billy D. Williams in anything. I'm just like, Lando. Like,
oh God, that's
anyway,
hilarious.
So that happened, and I was like really happy about it. And then I saw the other Batman movies, and it was like, oh, they made Harvey Dent white. Oh, okay. But then you look at
he's acting like the Joker.
Yeah, he's acting like the Joker. What?
That's something.
And then you look at of course, here we go again, Batman the Animated Series, and Harvey Dent is mixed race.
Yeah.
In Batman the Animated Series, he's black and white, and I look at that and go, holy crud, that's me.
Yeah.
He's me.
And I think that's why everyone in our family loved Two-Face, was because he essentially had the same skin color as us.
Yeah, and it was fantastic to see that, the Bruce Timm Batman, universe was like, yeah, no, we're gonna go with that version of him because he's cooler than just making another white dude, another thing. Like that was some representation right there in the early 90s when there wasn't any at all. Yeah, and I was like, bam. That's why I love that.
Because I think the only other non-white characters were in the show were police officers. Because there was one of the Montoya, yeah. She actually played a very important role, especially in the first two seasons, right?
Yeah. No, Montoya and what's his face, the big one.
Yeah, he had the side hair.
No, it's the Montoya's partner.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like he's the white dude, but the fact that she was the one that was cool, calm, and collected and intelligent, and he was the big I'm angry and I'm gonna bust through stuff.
Oh, are you talking about oh my God.
For some reason I can't remember his name, but he's really important. He always wears the trench coat. He always has a toothpick. And Bullock, yes. So wow, I like how that took us so long, but I just love that Montoya, who is evidently Hispanic, is the one of the two that knows her stuff and is intelligent and is a good cop and all that stuff, and Bullock is the one that would really love to just bend the rules, get around to stuff. He's the one that would love to just shoot Batman. Yeah, half the time. And the only thing keeping him from doing that is the fact that Jim Gordon is so by the book and such a good person.
And the fact that Batman solves
90%
of their cases. And it's if we got rid of Batman, this city would just really just crumble. Yeah. But you're right about that.
But yeah, so I just loved that so early in my life I got to see a character that I was just man, he's not dark brown and he's not white. He's just this light brown like I am, because I'm a light caramel colored. Yeah. Because I'm only a quarter black, but I still love that fact about myself.
I've heard maybe 3 people talk about you, not knowing that we're cousins, and they try to describe you. One girl said the Middle Eastern guy.
Jeez.
One guy said the Mexican guy, and it was just like all these off like.
Yeah,
and I just went like, yeah, he's none of those, but
yeah,
sure,
dude. I have to deal with another tangent, and I'm not going to go too far into this. One of the biggest things that people don't understand about being mixed race is you do not fall into any category, and nobody knows what you are. But everyone seems to want to know what you are, and so they'll always just go like, "Are you Middle Eastern? Are you Mexican?" I'm just like, "No, I'm half black, half white. For God's sake!"
Why do they keep telling you this?
Yeah, like I've had people go like, "Are you a gypsy?" Oh, and like, "Are you Saudi Arabian?" And like, I've also had to deal with some really actually very racist or racially charged comments because of it, and I'm like, I'm none of those things. I'm just white and black.
Yeah.
Honestly, in all honesty, I am probably just as white as most other people that talk to me because I'm, like I said, I'm 3/4 white, 1/4 black.
Yeah.
I'm probably just as white as they are, but because my skin tone is like 5 or 6 shades darker than theirs, they don't understand that, and they will try to compartmentalize me. So like it's aggravating as all get out.
Oh, trust me, man. I had a woman come to me when I was working at a shoe store in Iowa. She told me I was Dominican. Didn't ask me if I was. Told me. She's like, "You're Dominican, aren't you?" I'm like, no. She's like, "Yes, you are. I know a lot of Dominicans." I'm like, "I'm so happy for you, but I'm not."
Yeah.
Like, I'm so happy.
Glad you know so many Dominicans.
But I am not Dominican.
Get away from
but
me.
The funny thing is, when you look at Dominicans, I'm like, yeah, I do look very Dominican.
That's the thing is, like, I can understand where people can go like, "Oh, he's probably Saudi Arabian," because right now I've got a beard.
You got a very lush beard,
and my hair is kind of long right now, so it's like a little bit curly and stuff like that. So like, yeah, you might not be able to like ping me immediately as being like black and brown.
But don't
come
up
on, man.
But
I
don't
go
come
up to you
someone.
and go, "Are you Irish? Are you? Oh, I see hints of Italian and German in you. Yeah,
you look very German.
You look very German.
I don't know what that means, but
no,
okay.
just like right, like."
You look so German to me, like, okay.
Yeah, like I literally had a dude the other day because I work at a restaurant. I was serving tables, and I'm serving him, and he goes, "I'm an artist, and I just want to say, are you Saudi Arabian?" I'm like, "Why does your being an artist what matter to asking me whether I'm Saudi Arabian or not?"
Well, you see, I draw a lot of Arabians, so
I just wanted to know. It's like, dude, like what?
And he's like,
I've had no.
Here's your check. I'll see you later.
Yeah, I've had one person, and it was actually a couple, ever go, "You're mixy, aren't you?" Because they were a mixed race couple.
Oh yeah,
and
we could sniff out our own.
Yeah, and they looked at me like, "You're mixed, aren't you?"
You're
like,
one of us.
I certainly am. And they're like, "Oh, you look so good." I'm like, "Thank you." And that was it. And it's just like,
you're mixy, aren't you?
Like the only time I'll ever forgive someone asking my race is when they actually are like, actually know what
Get it
I am.
right.
Because that's the thing, guys. To anyone listening, like, there are a lot more mixed race people around you than you realize.
Oh yeah.
And the longer we go, the more of them there will be, because there's this wonderful thing about, the world is we actually are getting more progressive and better about race. It's just, loud people are loud. And so 50 years from now, 100 years from now, there's going to be light brown people everywhere.
Yeah.
All right? It's going to happen. And then we can finally stop having to deal with, are you a Jew? Are you this? Are you that? Because it's just everyone's gonna realize, oh, it's not worth asking.
Exactly. So going back to our topic,
that was kind of on topic.
Oh yeah, it was. Oh, don't get me wrong, that's very on topic. Oh, definitely. Anything that has to do with just race in general is very important to this episode in particular. But back to film. So, of course, we had Blade, and then somewhere we had Hancock, which.
Yeah, Hancock was before 2010, I want to say.
Yeah,
but it was after 2005.
Yeah, and the thing about Hancock was that it
almost was good.
Yeah,
I liked it actually. I saw it and I liked it. It wasn't fantastic, and it was kind of lame after the first half, but it was interesting, if nothing else.
It was something that I would actually really like to see done in a Hawkman and Hawkwoman movie. if they ever got to that.
Yeah.
Because when you find out, spoiler for Hancock, if anyone cares, it turns out that they're actually like Greek, and they were born during the ancient Greek, and they were considered angels or whatever, and when they're together, they lose their power, but when they're apart, they're immortals, and they have superpowers. So they lived apart for like they said, like we would come back together every century, and then we separate, and then we come back, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I guess they got completely separated. He got hidden. Oh no,
they were together. They got mugged in the early 1900s.
Yeah,
and he got hurt so bad that he lost his memory.
And she had to leave him because he wouldn't heal.
He wouldn't heal unless she got away. And when they asked for his name, they asked, "Hey, can you give me your John Hancock?" And so he writes John Hancock, and so that's his name.
Which is I actually kind of dig that. I thought that was actually a really interesting origin, but I was just like, man, this would be really cool for Hawkman and Hawkgirl.
But yeah,
like, that was like essentially that's kind of what they were without the without the alien.
They're Egyptian, and like they're Egyptian, and they have cycles of reincarnation.
Yeah,
where because they're lovers, but they're doomed to die, and then reincarnate, and then find each other, be in love, be heroes, and then die again.
Yeah, very beautiful, very beautiful. It's
sad.
Yeah, it's one of those like. And it was like the Greek tragedy of DC.
Yeah, and then at one point, one of them realizes that in order for them to die, they have to fall in love. And so she's like, I guess I'm just going to break this cycle by forcing myself to hate you.
Yeah, and I'll love Jon Stewart instead.
Yep.
So yeah, Hancock was hit or miss. Some people liked it, some people didn't. I was like, well, we're not getting another black superhero movie anytime soon, so I guess this is what we got. And then moving on, we had fun fact for everyone: Marlon Wayans was supposed to be Robin in Batman Returns.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, and they cut that out. I'm like,
wow, that would have been. I mean, it would have helped the movie, but it would have been interesting to see at the very least.
Yeah, because that was I mean, that was already so much going on in that movie with Penguin and Catwoman. I don't know if introducing Robin at the time would have been a good idea or not. No, that movie was already kind of struggling on its own because that movie was dark. Like that was like a really, really dark. Tim Burton brought an interesting aspect to Batman.
Well, yeah, Tim Burton's stuff isn't just dark; it's also twisted and kooky dark. Yeah, it's like
because remember the Penguin is just a name. Was a name that Oswald Cobblepot had. In Batman Returns, he was literally a penguin.
He was literally the penguin. He had like
web. Oh my god, the
hands, and like had to waddle in order to walk.
And was raised by penguins. Evil like penguins. Whatever.
How did he get those giant penguin like weapons and stuff like that? Where did his money come from for that?
Penguins, man.
Penguins.
Look, if you work on Wall Street, invest in penguins, okay?
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. Anyway, so yeah, just a fun fact. Marlon Wayans was supposed to be Robin in the original script or something. So, and then moving on, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's just when we get to to the world that we know of comic book movies, and we had War Machine in Iron Man 2. Mm-hmm. Even though he played James Rhodes was played by Terrence Howard in the original Iron Man. He was replaced by Don Cheadle, who then became War Machine. Now, War Machine is cool in the comics, but for some reason they really kind of they psychicked him really hard in the movies.
I like War Machine in the comics better than I like Iron Man.
Yeah, because they make it really hard to like Iron Man in the comics.
Yeah,
because they don't
they play up the alcoholism that
they touch on a little bit in the movies. He's a hardcore
alcoholic.
Devil in the bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that should have been Iron Man 3.
I think one of the reasons why they actually are skirting that in the movies is because it's Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, definitely.
And they just don't want to like mess with that at all.
Dude, they made him the creator of Ultron when it was supposed to be Hank Pym.
Yeah.
Yeah, so of course everything is going to circle around Robert Downey Jr. But then after that we jump to and I know we're kind of just sticking with black superheroes, but we also had a lot of women superheroes in the film, but they're not good. Like we had Electra, not good. We had Catwoman, which I don't know why.
Oh, the basketball scene.
The whole movie in general. And then we can't forget Supergirl.
No.
Holy crap! I watched a clip of Supergirl. That movie is like I don't know what anyone was going for in that one. But anyways, because also we also had the introduction of Black Widow in Iron Man 2, which I will say they found a good place for Black Widow in the Avengers storyline, I guess, as she's not a sidekick, she's just a good supporting character. Because I think her and Falcon, which was my original point, they hit a perfect team in Winter Soldier for Captain America.
Right.
Neither one of them were sidekicks. They just supported Captain America, and that's why that movie is still probably my favorite MCU movie.
One of the things is I would love to see a movie that was like Black Widow and Winter Soldier, but like pre Winter Soldier. So like when she talks about how like in the 90s or the early 2000s or whatever, she
had a very famous TV show.
She got shot by him.
Oh yeah, she had the bullet.
She has the bullet wound. She's got the scar. I would love to see like a one shot that's maybe like a half hour, even 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Showing her trying to like save her the operative that she was protecting, and then
it was like some world leader, and she's like, yeah, I was protecting him, so he shot through me to get to him. I was like, holy crap!
Whoa! Yeah, no, I'd love to see something like that.
Yeah,
because these characters, like you said, they can work on their own, but at the same time, how they've been portrayed so far is perfectly fine because they're not sidekicks. They are just another hero that is good at working with other heroes.
Yeah.
Which is something that when we do like multiple heroes, we need is to show that these superpowered beings are good at working together.
Yeah.
And so like I would love to see them do some stuff on their own, but at the same time, it's totally fine as it is.
Yeah. And again, I think I've referenced this so many times, just the previous podcast we've done. You have to go through our archive or something. We talked about why there aren't a lot of female superhero movies, and that is solely because the comic book writers did not write them as solo characters.
It's not just because the filmmakers are like
no women.
It's because a lot of the source material itself doesn't exist to make good female character movies. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist because Wonder Woman is a
great
beautiful example. If any film was to have a female lead for a single superhero, like no other superheroes in that film, just one superhero, it would be Wonder Woman.
But the thing is, she also has the source material for it.
But yeah, that's exactly why. It's because she has the source material. One of my favorite, and actually this is something we talked about in another podcast, one of my favorite DC stories is called A League of One, in which Wonder Woman literally, because she was threatened if she came with other people, all of the Amazons would die, trusses up all of the Justice League because they would follow her if she went alone, and she has to fight a freaking dragon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it was fantastic because it was a Wonder Woman story, and it shows why she is such a badass, why she is so cool and awesome, and also like she can do stuff on her own because she's basically a Superman level superhero.
Stronger, and doesn't have the same weaknesses.
Yeah, she's freaking strong. Where Superman is like magic he's got an allergy to magic. She does
not. Which came out of
I love that one. It's so funny.
No, and the thing is, when that was introduced, everyone knew except us as the reader. Like no one's like, "Huh, I'm weak to magic." It was just like, I remember he fought Shazam was just like, or Captain Marvel was just like, "Oh no, he's magic." Looks to the camera. I'm weak to magic.
I am weak to magic.
And you're like, wait. When did this happen? Like, wait, did I miss something? Like,
right?
You said kryptonite was your weakness, not just magic. Because, God, who knew magic was real?
I love that Batman kind of just goes, I don't believe in magic. And then, like, Zatanna's like, I can do magic. Woo! And he's like, yeah, I don't believe it.
It's
like,
all fake.
Okay.
Like, whatever. So keep going on. And that's how we get to where we are now with Civil War. We had an introduction to Black Panther. And Black Panther was not a sidekick, nor really was he really a supporting character. He was just another party.
He was similar to, well, he was just another party, yeah, but he didn't have as big a role as the others. I actually would say he's on the same level as Black Widow and Falcon were.
Yeah.
Only he wasn't on
anyone's side. He just wanted...
He was just doing what he wanted to. He just didn't play as huge a role because he didn't get to show up as much.
Yeah.
If he'd shown up more, he would definitely.
But when he showed up, he shows up.
He shows up. That's the thing. They were definitely saying, "Hey, this is gonna be a big player, but maybe not in this movie."
Yeah.
So
because they just hearing him talk about, because I remember they peeked on it a little bit in Age of Ultron when they were just like, he's getting vibranium, and they're like, wait, I thought my dad had the last one. He's like, oh my god, is he gonna go there? And apparently everyone else knew about Wakanda, and then it's just like, the only place you can get vibranium is. And it's so weird that it was Bruce Banner, of like one of the smartest people in the world, who couldn't pronounce Wakanda. It was like, Wakanda, Wakanda. It's like he was saying all these different things. Like, no, Wakanda. It's literally spelled out like there. It's not like there's no like apostrophes. There's no accents. It's like literally Wakanda. Like it's. Anyways, so. And the fact that, because I got into an argument with someone about, like, why is there a Black Panther movie before a Black Widow movie? And it's mostly just because...
It's because we've already Okay, so my not just because of the, representational thing. It's because Black Widow already has...
been established.
And they want to expand the mythos of the world, including... Wakanda is a very important part of the Marvel Earth world. We need to have that at some point, especially if we've already introduced Ultron. And so, yes, definitely. We're going to have a Black Panther movie because we've got to go to Wakanda, and we can't go to Wakanda without Black Panther.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Now, I would understand if they weren't going to be in Wakanda. Like, if right. I would understand the argument of saying, why is there a Black Widow movie before, or why is there a Black Panther before Black Widow? If Black Panther was set in like America and you only saw, and you watched Iron Fist, right?
No, actually I haven't.
Okay, well you see Kunlun for like in the whole series you see it for about maybe 5 minutes.
Are you kidding me?
You never go there. You see.
Are you kidding me?
Does
he ever fight the dragon?
You know they talk about it, you never see it.
You're kidding me.
No. So now if they
no wonder everyone hated it.
Yeah. Now if they did Wakanda like they did Kunlun and it was just like you only talked about it, you never saw it, I would get it. And at the same time I wouldn't want to watch a Black Panther movie.
I would not want to watch that movie then.
Because from what it looks like, Wakanda is the centerpiece of the Black Panther movie. It's not like they're just going to go there for 10 minutes and then...
Yeah.
I know a lot of
fight scenes are going to be happening in it. It's going to have a big play.
Because I know they go to Korea at some point.
Yeah, but that's about it. Almost all of it is just in Wakanda.
So I would understand if that was the aspect, but no. It's also just introducing Wakanda. Because like you said... Just like if you think about it, the most important places in the Marvel Universe are New York, obviously, because that's where almost all the Avengers work out of. Mm-hmm. Wakanda, Latveria, and I would say Atlantis, but no one. Namor is such a whatever character.
And that's a Fantastic Four character. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like in the Marvel world in general, these are the key places, and Wakanda is like number 2 behind New York. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to the Marvel Universe, especially if you have Wakanda, you use Wakanda. Like that is...
You've got the vibranium. You have the most powerful substance that Earth has access to.
Yeah.
And
it's like, just like it is in the Marvel Universe, Wakanda is so important just to making movies. Because that's when you're like, we can make sci-fi all we want with the Guardians. We can do Earth sci-fi with this. And so that's why I feel like that's why we're getting the Black Panther movie. And I'm hoping that because of Black Panther, we can get more of this Afrofuturism appeal. Because if you don't know what Afrofuturism is, it's pretty much sci-fi fantasy, but by looking at a...
culturally Black perspective.
Exactly. And we're actually going to do a whole episode about that, but I felt like... I felt like
this is a good like segue.
Yeah.
Like this episode is going to be a good setup for that episode if you guys catch that one.
Yeah. So, and that's why, that's why I think Black Panther has more importance than most films. I think because one, it's not like Blade where it's a black character, but you got a white director, white writers, and everything around it's white. This is like black. Like you remember that clip, like I'm black, y'all. I'm blacker than black, and then I'm black, y'all. This movie.
Right.
Outside of Frodo and Gollum in the movie, like the writers, directors, everyone. Kevin Feige's just like, you know what? I'll let you guys handle this one. I'm gonna be outside because this is a little too ethnic for me. But
okay, here's one of the things though. I was looking up on this really great thing that someone said. There was a lot of criticism for it because there's like, it's not inclusive. It's too black, like whatever. And then someone came back and was just like, okay, hold on now, let's tally up here. And then they were like, okay, I don't know the exact ones, but I know that Chadwick Boseman and a couple other characters are American.
Yeah,
they're black, but they're American. And then there's a Hispanic African chick. Mm-hmm. There are plenty of actually African chicks.
Yeah.
And plenty of African people that are from different sections of Africa, different regions.
Yeah.
And then of course we've got the dudes that play Gollum and Frodo or Bilbo, and I can't remember their actual names. But
Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman.
Yeah, I love those guys. They're in it.
Yeah.
And they're English. And then we've just got like...
They're hardcore British. They're Cockney, pretty much.
Yeah, and so we've got like, that's 7 or 8 different nationalities and or technically races right there.
Yeah.
Excuse me, just because they look black doesn't mean that they're just...
Oh, yeah.
Just a black person. So that's one race, huh? Is that how that works now?
Yeah, also, get this straight. Like, in Africa, if you're Nigerian and then you're someone from Niger... They think they're completely different. Like that's how they see it. Like it's pretty much like us in Canada. I almost said Canada.
Canada. Oh man,
I almost said Canada because it's so easy. It's so easy to say that, but yeah, it's like saying people from Canadians and Americans are the same, even though we both were on the same.
Granted, people from Montana basically are just from Canada.
True.
But that's okay. But anyway, it's like Canada. That's the thing that like gets me right there is just like, wow, you really do just have those racial sunglasses like right in front of your face when you say something like that.
Yeah.
Because like you do realize that just like it's this phenomena that I think occurs because we call people white.
Yeah.
And people black. It's so you're white, but what race are you? If you want to talk about race, then like, are you full Irish or are you maybe Irish mixed with English, or are you just English? Well, if you're English, are you from the upper echelons of, are you Cockney? Are you
Welsh?
Are you, or maybe you're from, so to just say because they're all black, they're all the same race, that's an idiotic sentence because there are so many cultures and divides, even in something such as being black. The same as being white.
And most Africans don't like us being called African Americans because unless you are like...
Actually, like your mother or father actually is African.
Or even like maybe
or grandfather.
Yeah.
Like that culture barely exists in your life. As we said earlier, I don't have as much of a connection to Africa as I have to America because for the last probably 5 or 6, maybe 10 generations on both sides of my family, except for my grandma... We come from America.
Yep.
Like, our shared grandmother is English. She's just this white English lady that our grandfather brought back in the 50s. And, like, we love her.
Oh, my gosh.
But,
she's and here's the thing. She's woke. She's like...
Oh, I love it
she's
so
like
much.
70-something, and she's the most woke person you have ever met. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Greatest woman. Between her and my grandfather, probably the 2 greatest people I've ever known in my life.
Right.
But I think we're gonna end this here. And please, if we missed something, or you just want to join the conversation, please you can tweet us and send us messages on Instagram at Real Film Geeks on both Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to email us, we're you can email us at realfilmgeeks@gmail.com. And if you want to add to the conversation, please get a hold of us. And fun thing, we are going into November, and I am participating in NaNoWriMo. And if you don't know what NaNoWriMo is, that is the National Novels Writing Month, where you have to write 50,000 words from November 1st to November 30th. I don't know how well I'm going to do, but I'm going to give it a try. And if you want to follow me on my journey of NaNoWriMo, please follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Casual Movie Fan. Zeb, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me at RFGZeb that's my Twitter handle. Mm-hmm. My Instagram is not good, so don't look at that. That's a bad place. But yeah, I am also going to be participating in NaNoWriMo, and I'm going to do my best to give updates on my Twitter account. Fun fact, my Twitter account, while it exists, has almost nothing on it. So this will actually be my premiere into Twitter. And as soon as NaNoWriMo wraps up, hopefully it'll give me the opportunity to keep my Twitter account going, and we'll actually be posting important Real Film Geeks information on there, and just helping you guys keep part of the conversation. Also, Addison, this will be going up on YouTube, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So throw up some YouTube comments in there. Get a conversation going, guys. We'd love to answer anything you have to say. All right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And at the end of the month, me and Zeb will probably do we'll just talk about what novels we wrote, and kind of just bounce off the conversation. And also make sure you check out our parent company, the Token Nerd Network, at their respective links and notifications and stuff like that. All right, guys, thank you for listening. I'm Addison Lee.
And I'm Zebedee.
All right, remember, shoot people. Oh, my God.
Oh, God, Addison.
I said this so many times.
Remember, shoot people.
No, I'm so sorry. Oh, my God, I've done it so many times, I can't believe I messed up. Remember, shoot film, not people. Oh, jeez.